The Dreamcast, a console that was beloved but also forgotten as soon as it came and gone. Released back in 1996, the Dreamcast was home to a lot of beloved classics, some forgettable garbage, and some other stuff that frankly I can't even explain. Whatever the case, the Dreamcast was definitely an experimental console that had an unfair lifespan. Because of a lack of third-party support and the PlayStation 2 just coming around the corner, the Dreamcast had no chance that year and was pulled off the shelves. It kinda sucks too, given the fact that the marketing was hyping this console up like it was the second coming of Christ, just to only be remembered by how short of the lifespan this console lived on for. It kinda sucks too, because there were some games that were actually only exclusives to this console, which leaves me talking about one of Dreamcast's forgotten exclusives. Slave Zero, developed by a small team called Accolade. Slave Zero is a 3D action third-person mech shooter set in the future of a mechanized city called Mecha City S1 through 9. The city is ruled over by a crazy dictator called the Self-Con, who also creates a giant mechanized army called slaves. These biomechanical machines are powered by genetically advanced embryos. Our main character Chan, who's a guardian, sacrificed her soul into the strongest slave unit, Slave Zero, to aid against the Self-Con and destroy his empire. I might have missed a few things, but that's pretty much the lore of the game, which really doesn't seem that much compared to what the gameplay actually looks like, and there's a real reason behind all of this, and it has to do with the development team. The team Acolyte didn't really have that much of a name of themselves, really only developing a golf game and the Bubsy franchise, which, if you know, then you know. Soon though, in 1999, the studio was bought off by Infograin and became Infograin North America. Stephen Ackridge, a man underneath this development team, will eventually set up a team to work on a new game engine to be suitable for PC gaming and later the Dreamcast console. This engine will be called the Exidy engine. With this new Exidy engine, they decided to start working on their first ever game to work on this engine. The team will eventually find a director named Sean Vench, who was already at that time a very experienced game developer. Vench pinched out the idea of a giant mech shooting game, given the fact that he already worked on a mech video game. This title will eventually become Slave Zero. The ball was already rolling at this point, but the team really needed an art direction to help them guide through this game. That's when the team found character and environmental artist Ken Capelli. They also seeked out a story writer, Marcus Stahl. The team was all set up, and now at this point, development started going. Vince started looking at sci-fi and mecha media to get inspired for the story and art for the game. You can definitely see this in Ken Capelli's early artwork while developing the mecha suit. And unfortunately, due to this art style, the people in the higher-ups of this company saw Stephen Ackridge's team, particularly the art style and the direction where they're going at, weren't really fans of the biomechanical tone of the game, but encouraged the team to go off in a more militaristic modern look to the mechs. They weren't also fans of the dark take of the story, and opted a more heroic hero shooter. Stephen Ackridge and their team were a little upset from this news, and really didn't want to start from scratch and get rid of something that was already badass as it is. So for their last ditch effort to save this project, they decided to show the other members VHS videos of their inspirations, which were Guyver and Evangelion. Unfortunately though, this did not satisfy the members, and they had to figure out a middle ground to satisfy both of the team. Fortunately though, they did find a middle ground and the game was released, but it wasn't to what Stephen Ackridge and his entire team thought of, especially Capelli, who worked on the biomechanical theme of the game, and will be Capelli's last time working on a big scale project like this ever again. A few years would pass and Infograin finally died off, leaving the company to sell some of their video game properties to other video game developers. One of these independent development teams were Ziggurat, who found interest in Infograin's famous game Slave Zero. Them and another video game company, Night Dive, started work on a remaster of Slave Zero that is way more better than the Dreamcast port. A man at one point at the leadership role at Ziggurat Studios, Reed Rosen, started pitching ideas of some of their older titles to bring back. He got in talks with his friend, who was also a game developer at an indie development team called Poppyworks, by the name of Wolfgang Wozniak. Them and a few others that I'll mention started working on an idea of bringing back Slave Zero. Wozniak would get in touch with his friend named Tristan Chapman, who was already working on a side-scrolling beat-em-up. They eventually started helping out with this side-scrolling beat-em-up project and got in touch with an artist named Francie Bridge, who had a clear understanding of the biomechanical and mechanized genre. An ex-Rooster Team member, Miles Luna, also came in to help out with the dialogue of the game. And soon development started working on a new Slave Zero game called Slave Zero X. Released in February last year, Slave Zero X is a sprite-based beat-em-up prequel to the original Slave Zero, only set in 4 years before the events of the first game. The story revolves around a character named Sho, a freedom fighter in the group called the Guardians. Sho and the Guardians are completely outnumbered and outclassed by the already talked about Self Khan, who at this point was stronger and deadlier than he was in the original. Feeling outmatched by this ever-growing threat, the team was able to steal a prototype endoskeleton slave unit. This slave unit suit was called X, a biomechanical symbiotic suit that eventually pairs up with our main character Sho. Sho, now powerful than he ever was, goes on a bloody revenge arc to kill the Self Khan and avenge his friend's death, Asamu. I want to talk about the things that I enjoyed and the things that I didn't enjoy. For starters, the art style in this game is beautiful. From the mega city to the bosses and even enemies. Everything in this game just oozes with biopunk, and I love it so much for that. This game's story is also amazing as well. Not anything to cry home to your mom about, but enough to make you want it more. And it's definitely an improvement and a love letter to the original, which went through a lot of controversies and creative differences. The combat in this game is really great as well, having that same vibe that you expect to see in some arcade game. I mostly don't play a lot of beat 'em ups unless it catches my eye, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game or the Power Rangers, but this one felt different. It felt classic and original. Just through seeing gameplay and art style and hearing the voice actors that were going to be playing the bosses and the characters in this game, I just knew I needed to pre-order, and pre-order I did, and it definitely was not a waste. This was probably one of my most anticipated indie games of last year, even up there with Crow Country, which I already did a video on if you want to go check that out. Alright, let's now get to the stuff that I didn't really like about this game. For one, it's really hard to see where my character is at sometimes when you're dealing with a big crowd of enemies. Like for starters, it felt like I was completely outmatched by the amount of enemies that were on the screen, and it really shows that towards the very end of the game. This game doesn't really have a difficulty level, it just progressively gets harder as you go throughout the game, and man is it annoying. I find the best way to deal with this kind of problem is have all the enemies on one side of the screen, which is easier said than done, given the fact that if one enemy does hit you, it's most likely going to put you in a stun lock and then it'll be a punish. It doesn't help that in certain levels it's either completely dark or it's just completely unseeable with buildings in the front of the screen. I swear there were certain times where I was literally just talking to myself saying like, how do I even beat this, or like, is this even possible? Like goddamn. Overall though, this game is still worth it if you're ever into the beat 'em ups or just love this type of biopunk art style, even with all of its flaws, which most likely could just get patched up with just an update. I really hope this Slave Zero series does continue, because I feel like there's so much more lore that could be explored in this game. It would be really cool if they continue this series into like the first person shooter genre or something. Or hell, it'd be really cool if they made a Quake mod. Slave Zero X Episode Unyo is a prequel custom mod pack for Quake. You follow the character Unyo, one of the bosses from Slave Zero X, as she goes on a rampage to kill all the Self Khan soldiers. This is probably one of my favorite Quake mod packs, given the fact that I just got done beating Slave Zero X around that time, and was just dying to see what this game has to offer. And this mod pack truly did offer that. Even though this mod pack is very small with only 6 episodes, it still offers a good time. The animations, the environments, the enemies, everything about this Quake mod is just amazing. There's even voice acting as well in this. This mod pack managed to bring in the enemies and environments from Slave Zero X into a 3D environment very well, while also trying something different that I haven't really seen in any Quake mod pack yet. If you're a Slave Zero fan or a Slave Zero X fan, I'll definitely recommend you to play this mod pack, or if you're just a casual person who enjoys playing first-person shooters, this mod pack will offer a lot of fun in unique ways. And I think that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I might have left some stuff out, and if I did, please let me know in the comments. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys did, please like, share, and subscribe. If you guys didn't, leave a comment and explain why, I guess. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next video or something like that. Alright, see you.